So, this is Eweadn H2 and this is probably one of the most premium feeling mouse I have used under 25 USD or 3000 BDT. But that is only for the build I'm speaking about. But certainly the build isn't exactly what only matters for a mouse. We have to also look for the specs this mouse provides for. And this mouse has some interesting facts, proof about it. But what are those, you may actually ask? But before answering that, I am also hosting a giveaway for this mouse, and the details about this will be added in the last part of the video. So before any more further discussion, let's have a look into the Eweadn H2 and see if it's a value for money mouse or not. Today's review unit was sent to me by Easy Gadgets themselves. And Easy Gadgets has been one of the prime PC peripherals importer of Bangladesh, with bringing several renowned brands like GameShare, Eweadn, Lingbao, and so on officially. And you can find today's Eweadn H2 and H2 Pro at their website for 2600 BDT for the Eweadn H2 and 3500 BDT for the Eweadn H2 Pro. So grab it while you can, along with some other peripherals also. And now onto the video. So this is the Eweadn H2. And I've got the base variant, but there's also the Pro variant, but both comes in the same box, so the unboxing experience should be the same. And this mouse was obviously sent by the Easy Gadgets, as you can see on the top. So the box this mouse comes in is a pretty decent one, but it's just a cardboard box with nothing much fancy to it. And there's not a lot of information on the front or on the back, but just a few features of the mouse on the side. Now let's start the unboxing. And opening the box, at first we get the grip tapes, and these are just OEM grip tapes and nothing much fancy about it. Then there's the USB Type-C to A cable, which is braided and is also smooth and it's pretty soft. After the cable, on the bottom, there's another set of OEM PTFE feeds, which are about what you would expect for a OEM set of feeds. Lastly, there's a user manual with all the information about the mouse, and that's about it for the box contents. And now let's take a look at the mouse. And getting the mouse out of the plastic wrap, we finally get our hands on the matte color finish and matte black coated with gold accented Eweadn H2, and it's a pretty good looking mouse. And that's about it for the unboxing. So for the shape of this mouse is basically a 1-to-1 clone of the Razer Viper Mini, and after measuring it myself, here are the dimensions. The dimensions we see is the length of this mouse is about 190.3 mm, then the width of this mouse on the middle is 58.1 mm, and on the rear or the bottom area it's 60.5 mm, and on the top it's 60.9 mm or almost 61 mm. At the middle the height is about 38.2 mm, and on the front it's 28.2 mm. So as per the measurement, it's pretty much the shape of the Viper Mini as I have measured here. As you can see here, from the side, the mouse has the exact hump design of the Viper Mini, and the inclination to the front is also pretty minimal with no aggressive downward slope for the hump. But from the mid to back hump, it has a gradual and almost an aggressive downward slope, but not that much, and the slope is pretty much good for the palm grip. Then from the back we can see the hump has a uniform inclination from the middle top of the mouse, and this is an ambidextrous mouse, so it's pretty good to hold on the both hand. And also from the front we can see the mouse has no awkward inclination on the both right side or the left side. And going on the back, the ambidextrous shape is also pretty much visible while looking from here. Considering this is a pretty new mouse and this hasn't been released internationally yet, there is no data on the yellow shape. And since this mouse has the exact shape of the Viper Mini, so we'll be comparing with the Viper Mini with other similarly priced mice on this budget. So the mice I'll be comparing with the Epomaker Click Lite, the Monk M1, the ATK F1 Pro, and the Eweadn X23. And these are more or less similarly priced mouse under $25 to $30. Here we can see, for the length comparison, there isn't much difference with all these mice, but the Epomaker Click Lite seems to be the longest one among them with 121mm, and the Monk M1 is the smallest one. But the ATK F1 and the Eweadn X23 has the closest possible length with the Eweadn H2. And the width of all these mice is pretty much similar across the board, but except the Epomaker Click Lite being a bit thicker and wider on the middle, but the X23 is slightly less thick on the middle. And lastly, comparing the height among themselves, the height is more or less the same for all the mice. We can see here only the exception being the Eweadn H2 being 41mm on the height, being the tallest mouse among them all. And we can also see, keeping the weight in check, which I will be measuring later, all these mice has pretty much close weight among all of them. So that's about it for the shape comparison of the mouse, and I can confidently say the Eweadn H2 is the one-to-one clone of the Viper Mini. And now to the next part. So now about the build quality of the Eweadn H2. In my opinion, this mouse has one of the best, if not the best build quality in the $25 to $30 price segment, and I am talking about the shell specifically. This mouse is made of full ABS plastic and it feels really premium to hold on. There is no noticeable creaking on the mouse while pressing from the both sides or from the top. Plus, pressing the front of the mouse or the clicks, we can also see it doesn't give any kind of creaking noises or any kind of rattles. Another thing to notice, this mouse doesn't have the typical smooth coating we see in this price range. Rather, it has ice nano coating, which is pretty unusual to see in this price range, and this also has a peculiar color, which is the matte black. And this mouse is pretty much non-existent in black environment. As you can see in my images here, it really looks awkward. And not to mention, it's really hard to find in dark environment since it absorbs light completely due to its coating. And it's a fun fact, I guess. And another thing about this coating is it also introduces a peculiar issue. This kind of coat is very much persistent to finger oil or hand sweat. As you can see here, the coat of this mouse really shows the imprints where it has been touched. Even though this may look like the mouse looks shiny and smooth, the coat doesn't disappear from the mouse, and the mouse indeed feels grippy in all kind of grips, be it palm grip or fingertip grip or claw grip, as this mouse can be held in all of the three grips as you can see here. Not to mention, there is literally no pre-travel or post-travel on the clicks, be it on the front or on the sides. From the clicks going to the back, we can also see the mouse has 4 feet, a big one on the top, 2 small ones on the bottom, and a small one on the middle right above the sensor. And from here, looking at the sensor does seem a bit off-center, a bit on the upper side, but I didn't see any kind of sensor tracking issue with the off-center placement. And on the both sides of the sensor, there are 2 toggle switches. Among them, the one on the left is the mode switch, which switches between the tri-mode of the mouse. And on the right, there is the DPI switch, which is pretty much self-explanatory. And on the bottom, there is the dongle storage compartment. Here you can see, by opening it, we get our access to the 1 kHz polling rate dongle. And yes, this 3311 sensor-based mouse supports 1 kHz polling rate pretty much consistently, as we will see in our performance testing part. And that's about it for the build quality. But I'm pretty much happy with the build, minus the fits or the coat. Among which the coat can be cherry picked, but the fits are pretty much OEM fits and are generic ones and not something I can appreciate that much. Overall, it's pretty value for money in my eyes. So time for testing the weight and the weight balance. And before weighing the mouse, let me first get the dongle flap removed from behind. So weighing this mouse, we can see the mouse weighs about 61.13 grams, which is kind of heavy for this price range since the mice are tending to be lighter in weight, and above 60 grams is crossing the medium heavy margin for a mouse. Also checking the weight balance, I am pretty much surprised seeing this mouse is pretty much center balanced. And while checking from holding the top and the bottom, we can see the mouse doesn't tilt on the left or on the right side. And while holding on the middle, we can also see the mouse doesn't lean on the front or on the back. So the weight balance is pretty much perfect and it feels really good to hold on while using it. So that's about it for the weight part. So now time for the specs, and instead of reading the specs direct from the website, let's tear the mouse down and see what's inside of it, if the claims are true or not. So after tearing the mouse, we finally get a look inside the mouse. To start, let's see what the side buttons this mouse uses. The side buttons, it seems, this mouse has is the Huano black shell white dot switch, which are rated for 30 million click lifetime, and this is honestly appreciable considering many of the budget mice goes for 5 million switch on their side buttons or 10 million at max 20 million. Then again, even though 30 million click lifetime based switches on the side buttons, the soldering on the side buttons are not that premium in my opinion, but then again it's just a minor nitpick. So then going to the main part of the mouse, we can see the main selling point of this mouse, which is the Huano transparent yellow shell white dot switch, which are rated for 120 million click lifetime and are probably also dustproof based on the infos I am seeing. Then checking the scroll, we can see this has the Fingxi Weiqi green dot scroll encoder, and this scroll encoder is rated for 1 million scrolls, and the scroll click this encoder uses is the Huano black shell red dot switch, which are rated for 3 million clicks. And in my opinion, this is enough for a scroll wheel encoder, I guess. Then going to the bottom, we can check the rest of the mice, and at first we can see the huge plastic block, which is the Pixar 3311 sensor, and on the bottom right of the sensor we can see the MCU of the mouse. And even though Eweadn claims to make a custom MCU for the mouse, this is actually a Pan 1080 MCU, and this in my opinion is a B tier MCU for a mouse, which I am not necessarily fond of, but given the price to performance ratio, it's pretty much consistent, or more or less consistent, which I'll touch more on the performance part. Lastly, on the bottom there's the battery, and Eweadn claims to have about 500 mAh capacity, which is paired with the 3311 sensor and Pan 1080 chip with 1 kHz polling rate. They can claim about 120 to 130 hour of battery lifetime, which is pretty much possible given the sensor and the power consumption of the 3311. And the mouse also comes with the Pixar 3395 sensor on the H2 Pro, which you can see in their official specs houses the 800 mAh battery, but that also makes the mouse a bit heavier given the increased battery size. But the increased battery size also makes sure the mouse has 120 to 130 hour of battery life consistent. And in my 1 month of testing, it seems to have a week of battery life easily given my use case. So that's about it for the teardown, and now to the next part. Then about the software, and the software experience of the Eweadn H2 is probably one of the best experience for this mouse, and it really makes me happy to see that I didn't have to install any kind of software for this mouse, especially as I am pretty much pissed off recently about installing the Corsair IQ, where I had to install 1.5 GB worth of software inside my PC just to use my mouse. So enough with trashing other brands, and let's look into the WebDriver now. So for this mouse, you don't really need to install any kind of software. You just go on the eHub web and you can use the mouse there, and I'll be adding the link in the description box. So in the WebDriver now, the interface looks like this, and on the top you can add a new device, and while you add a new device, on the top left you can get the mouse paired. So let's enter the mouse now, and entering the mouse we get a whole lot of options. At first there's the option to change how the clicks of the mouse will perform, or you can set the keybinds, and there's also an option to set the macros right from the home. Then on the next step there's the polling rate and DPI adjustment settings, and it can go up to 24,000 DPI and 1 kHz polling rate, which is pretty much standard for a 3311 sensor. And on the next step there's also another macro editor, and in fully functional way for your convenience. And then there are a few settings which is pretty confusing, and I won't go in further details about them. After that there's the firmware update tab, where you can update the firmware of the mouse. And on the last tab there is few quick infos about the brand. So that's about it for the software experience, and since this is a WebDriver, the experience was pretty solid and snappy. And the website, as you can see while refreshing it, the website loads pretty fast. So I'm pretty much happy with the software experience while keeping the software very clean. Now time for the performance, and the performance of this mouse is pretty much near perfect for a 3311 sensor, but not exactly perfect. So testing the polling rate of the mouse at first, we can see the polling rate has consistent 1 kHz on 2.4 GHz mode in the Razer polling tester app, and this has been pretty much the usual performance across my usage for the last month or so. The battery life, as I mentioned before, lasts about a week or about a week and a half on a single charge. But you may ask, how does this mouse perform in game? And in game, this mouse has been kind of flawless given the performance of the 3311 sensor. What I mean is there is no latency in my use case or any performance delay during the gameplay testing. And here in the gameplay test, I'm using the Artisan Type 99 surface, so the mouse tracking was pretty much smooth, but there was occasional spin out where indeed bothersome, but I didn't face it that much. I faced it about 5 or 6 times in my month-long testing, so the spin out is there, but for a 3311 sensor with Pan 1080 MCU, I can't necessarily complain. Considering the price to performance, it is kind of expected. So I don't really mean the performance is bad or anything, it's just the spin out is there, but the overall performance is pretty good and the tracking was pretty much consistent. Also, there was no DPI deviation and the polling rate never went down, so the polling rate was 1 kHz constant obviously. Overall, yes, I'm pretty much happy with the performance and it's good. At last, time for the verdict. And in my opinion, considering the value for money factor of this mouse indeed provides its promises. Especially the 3311 variant, not the 3395 variant, which I didn't test. I'm talking about this mouse. This mouse is pretty much in my recommended list, and the reasons so far, which are the main highlights of this mouse in my opinion, are the build quality and the switches. The build quality has been pretty much great. The coat, even though, is a sweat and oil magnet, which also makes the coat look weird after a while of usage. Holding the mouse has pretty firm grip, and it was pretty much consistent and didn't feel slippery at all while holding the mouse. Not to mention, the mouse also has a premium look to it for the build, with a gold accent and black color, which I personally did like very much. The switches are also pretty good for this mouse. The side buttons as well as the main buttons are probably the best switch combinations, under $30 or sometimes under $40. Not to mention, the build was also pretty great with no creaking or squeaking on the mouse, and also there was no pre-travel or post-travel for the switches. So the build quality and the switch quality has made me pretty much happy for this mouse. But yes, the Achilles of the heel for this mouse was the sensor, or to be specific, the MCU. Yes, I did complain about the MCU, but it wasn't really something I should massively complain about given the price, considering that was a minor nitpick. Do mind the screen flick and the sensor spin out issue is there, and I'm not ignoring it, but as well I'm pretty much happy with the performance of this mouse. So I would definitely recommend this mouse. Under $25 this comes in. So that's about it for my today's review. To connect with me or to join the Discord community, all my social links, including the purchase link of the mouse, are given in the description box, and I am building my central database with my website soon, so stay tuned for that, with all the latest test infos and more details with photoshoots for products combined in a single place soon. Not to mention, there is another surprise. I'm getting the latest tester, the OSLTTCS, so I'll start to include all the latest tests of the mice I will be reviewing, also the Ichi keyboards. And lastly, another surprise is I'll be giving away this Eweadn H2, which I reviewed today. So the details will be published in the Facebook, which you'll see in the description box also. To join the giveaway, the rules are pretty simple. So at first, you need to like and follow our page, both my page and Easy Gadgets page. Then you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel. After that, you need to react and share the Facebook post. The share must be public. And step 3 will be to check out this video fully. And if you are here, you have already watched the video fully. So comment down below what you liked about this mouse, but don't spam random stuffs or else you will be disqualified for it. So that's about it for the rules. Best of luck everyone for the giveaway, and the giveaway will end in 3 weeks from now, which will be on Saturday, March 28th. So till then, stay safe and thank you for watching.